Hello fellow gardeners, welcome to the Calyx Services garden, and I'm standing in front of our entrance hedge. We referred to it in a previous video as our chain link fence. We created quite a lovely camouflage. It's been about 2 years or so since these plants have been growing, and by now you would not even know that there is a support structure behind these plants holding them upright. In today's video, what I'm going to show you is how we train this hedge, how we prune it in order for it to retain the features of a hedge. So please keep watching. Thanks for staying, and let's get right into the subject at hand. I'm just going to remind for you, those of you who may not have seen the first video, I'm putting a link on the screen. This hedge consists of plants, all of which have a vining growth habit. And what we did initially was to intertwine them. We planted them at the base, of course, but intertwine them in this chain link as the support. So as they grew in the early stages, we just attached them to the chain link to keep them upright. This is the pink Pandora. We planted it at one end of the hedge, which is about 30 feet long, and it has taken its time and gone all the way through to the end, to the other end. You see everywhere you look, there is a pink Pandora coming through. The other plant is Clerodendron, but none of these have tendrils, so they really do not support themselves by holding on to other plants. They just weave themselves in between whatever support they can find. Now I see the camera focusing on plumbago. I'm really surprised the extent to which the plumbago is the dominant color here throughout the year, and it does sparkle. In the later part of the day, that's the one that gives you more of a, I guess, light reflection. This is a lovely garlic bloom. It has a faint fragrance. Garlic vine does have tendrils. So yeah, this is the one that really colonizes. It just runs and holds on to anything that is in its way and propels itself to great heights. The last item in this collection of plants is this fire spike. This is the only one that doesn't have a vine in growth. It's a nice shrubby. Once you prune it, it does maintain itself in its upright position. Now that I've introduced the main plants in this hedge, let me show you how we trim it. Here are the tools that we use. First, the secateur, which really is an optional tool. We use it mainly as we prepare the hedge for trimming with the larger trimmers. And I'll show you what I mean in a moment. Here's a hand trimmer, which is great for smaller hedges. And the electric trimmer, you really wouldn't need this for larger hedges. In many cases, prior to the main pruning exercise with the larger pruners, I would do a little pre-pruning preparation. Those branches that can be pushed back in, it's not everything that is cut, because we have to constantly maintain the thickness of the hedge. So if you look up, and here's a lovely blooming branch, rather than cut it off, we put it as far back into the structure to maintain a lush look in the front. And sometimes I come and use a secateur to do the pruning. If I don't want the entire branch off, I will do a pre-pruning before the bigger pruning comes on. Make the cutting just at a node, preferably a node that is pointing, a bud that is pointing out to both sides, so that the new growth comes in this orientation rather than coming to the front. You cut near a shoot that's going to grow in the direction you want. For example, this fire spike, it's long and getting a bit not pretty, so I made a cut, leaving this shoot to go up and continue the thick appearance of the hedge. Now this guy, we have enough plumbago, and it does branch very quickly, so forfeiting a bloom this morning. What we tend to do is to have a front face with sufficient blooms coming through, but the top doesn't get pruned as often as the sides. Our view of this hedge is mainly from up on the courtyard, But the neighbors have also asked us repeatedly, please to let the flowers at the top remain, because that's what they appreciate from their side of the fence. So you see, that's what neighbors are for. It's time to start the trimming. I admit that I'm not the one who does the trimming, so Don will now quickly demonstrate how he does it. First, using the electric shear, then finishing up with the hand shear. And this trimming we do about 3 times a year. And of course, if it really is looking beautiful with all the flowers, I tend to prolong the flowering stage to the point where I suppose if you're backing into it every morning and you keep getting an alarm, you have to trim. And now that it's trimmed, we can see the Tradescantia at the base. To be honest, I hadn't seen it in a while. And most of the flowers are now coming through, most of the varieties. The fire spike right in front of me, that didn't get too bad a trim, so you can still see the flowers. And the blooms that are at the top are very much there for the enjoyment of both ourselves and the neighbors. The last thing to be done, after you've done all the nipping and tucking, clearing out of dry trash, is the final cleanup, which I don't need to show you that, so I'm going to do that and come back for the wrap. Wow, in less than 3 minutes, Don was able to trim all of the, the tips that were coming out and impeding some of the vehicular movements. And as you can see, the entire section is now above the level that would cause an alarm on the reverse when we are coming out. And he was able to save quite a few of the flowers, so it's not as bare as if you weren't taking sufficient care, you will end up with just sticks. But as you can see, there are lots of blooms left on the top for us to admire from above. And looking in at the sides is still nice and thick. You can't really see through it. And within very short order, there's some young buds here that weren't touched. So in another week or two, you probably wouldn't have realized that it was trimmed. We are nearing the end of this video, and so far I've shown you how we maintain our flowering hedge, which consists mainly of plants that are essentially woody vines. But your flowering hedge may consist of shrubs that are a bit more common, shrubs such as hibiscus, ixora, bougainvillea, and even crown of thorns. But the trimming practices remain the same. You should allow the hedge to bloom between trimmings. After all, that's why you have a beautiful flowering hedge. Whenever practical, use a secateur to refine the cuts, both before and after you use the larger trimmers. And try not to take off all of the young sections of the stems every time you trim. That's it for this video. I want to thank Don, as usual, for doing the heavy lifting, as I call it. The garden belongs to both of us, and we work equally hard in the garden. Just that, I guess he prefers to be behind the camera most of the time, but I do thank him for all of the work he does. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and if you have not subscribed already, please do so, because really that's all the encouragement we need to make us feel or make us know that you appreciate the content we are providing. So thanks for watching. Until next time, take care. I am Thelma in the Calyx Garden saying bye-bye.